Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How you guys doing? We're back with episode 5 of the Clair Minimum Battle series. So far, we have managed to get through this section with 27 Pokemon, 4 more joining in the struggle column, and of course, our member picks overall have done pretty darn well, though I will need to look at that Centret one more time when we get to redos later on in this series. But for today, we're coming back with a nice set of 8 more challengers. We have the Clefairy line, the Ninetales, the entire Jigglypuff line, and Sudowoodo. This is going to be our first chance to look at some of these normal types as well as some baby Pokemon that might struggle in this section. We might actually lose something. We'll just have to see. I mean, Ninetales and Sudowoodo are the 2 Pokemon I'm really nervous about because they don't get anything like sleep strats here. They don't get any sort of OP move against Clair. They're just going to have to roll with what they've got, and they've got some pretty significant type weaknesses there that could be a factor. Since we've got Ninetales, of course, I will also get in a member pick. That will be the Vulpix that is up there, and we're going to just see how this Pokemon goes. That Vulpix is, of course, running the move Hypnosis as an egg move, so I think it has a pretty good chance of getting through as well as all the normal types because of sleep spam, but we're just going to have to see how this actually works out. Now, quick note from Tale from the Future here. I recorded the first 4 Pokemon here, but I was trying to use a noise reduction filter to get rid of some of the clicking noises of my chair, and it completely screwed up my audio. So while I do have the original audio from the first recording, it is so bad that I cannot use it in the video. So Tale from the Future will be recording the first 4 Pokemon on this episode. So if I seem a little clairvoyant as we're looking at Clefable here to start this one off, well, it's because I already know exactly what happens. But with that being out of the way, let's get into this. I'll be rewatching the footage as I give my commentary. So Clefable comes into this section knowing the move Thunder Punch, Rollout, Sing, and Moonlight. And I think overall this moveset's going to do pretty well. We also have things like Fire Punch that could help us in this section, especially with Magnemites. And we've got Stab normal type moves. So I think we've got more than enough to get through this part of the game. Let's just see how it actually goes. So I will learn Fire Punch over Thunder Punch right here just because I think it's going to be more useful against a rival. Let's see if it's enough for the Marlboro Man. Here we go for Fire Punch in this one, and it does not one-hit KO against the coughing. Turns out to be a 2-hitter, so I'll go Rollout after that. And here it looks like it will just take a couple rollouts to knock this one out, but once we miss the rollout, I'm gonna have to Sing. We get poisoned. I'm gonna try to set up Rollout again because maybe we can sweep through a few of these Pokemon with the built-up Rollout. We do not knock out the next coughing. It smoke screens. We miss. Now we get self-destruct and we simply lose. We're gonna have to try this one again. Now, I think it may be better to simply go for Sing against the coughings and then just 2-shot them with the Fire Punch, since we know that if we get them asleep, we should be able to get the victory. But once I get that first one on low health, I can go for Rollout and try to set up. But once we get a smoke screen, it's Fire Punch the rest of the way because I don't think we're going to have the accuracy to get through this. Here against the Weezing, it's a 3-hit KO, but we do manage to get through. We can use Moonlight to heal up in this case when we're not using Rollout, so we do get through on the next attempt. But now we have to see if we can manage to get through the rival in the basement. Let's just see how this actually works out. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, I'm going to Sing on the first Golbat, and now let's see if we can knock it out with Rollout. It looks like a 2-hitter with that move. Magnemite comes out next. We miss the Rollout and we get paralyzed. Let's just go for the Rollout again here because I think we're going to need that when we get to the Meganium. For Haunter, we do manage to hit Rollout and knock it out. Sneasel comes out and Rollout will still hit, knocking that one out as well. And finally, Meganium, we ran out of Rollout, but let's see what Fire Punch does. It's a 2-hit KO. And of course, being paralyzed, we simply go down on the first attempt. Let's try this one again. Back to the Golbat. This time I'll go Fire Punch, and it is a 2-hit KO with that move. As long as we're not confused, we'll knock out the Magnemite. Against the Haunter, we can stick with Fire Punch, but it is not a 1-hit KO, so we do get cursed. But we can now go back to Rollout on the Sneasel. Here, we're going to hit it twice, and while we do have the curse on, we will knock that one out. And now the built-up Rollout on Meganium appears to be a 2-hitter. It just goes Reflect, giving us the easy victory. So it's not perfectly consistent there, but it certainly is possible to get through. It seems like you're better off starting to set up the Rollout on like Haunter or Sneasel in order to actually get a good range there. But after that, we should have no issues with any of these randos, so let's make our way straight to the end. And here against the final Rocket Executive, it's pretty simple. Just go for rollout here. It's going to one-shot the Houndour. On the Coughing, we get a 2-hitter, but it just hits Sludge and poisons me. That doesn't really matter. And finally on the Houndoom, it's a 1-hit KO. So a very easy victory, and we're ready to move on to Clair. We might need to replace Fire Punch with Ice Punch here, but I think it's going to be perfectly fine to get through this section. Now, of course, if we get desperate, we could go Blizzard strats. It's just going to depend on whether or not we one-shot those Dragonairs with the Ice Punch. So Clair attempt number 1. Let's see what Ice Punch does here against this first Dragonair, and it does manage the 1-hit KO. Second Dragonair comes out. We once again Ice Punch, getting the KO there. Third Dragonair also gets wrecked. Now that brings us to Kingdra. I think I'm going to Sing here and try to go for the rollout strat, but it goes for a bunch of smoke screens against me. And at that point, I think we just have to start trying to attack. I went rollout by mistake once, then we got a miss, but now we can just go Ice Punch. It looks like it's probably a 3-hitter, but we get the range to knock it out. So just like that, we beat Clair on the first attempt, even with me using kind of bad moves and misclicking. Doesn't really matter. You get through that fight perfectly fine, and we're ready to move on in this section. So now I think, if anything, we just go back to Fire Punch when we get to Rival 5. Let's see if that's enough to actually get us through that last fight and get this Pokemon to the league. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. Let's see if we can manage to get this to go. I didn't actually put on Fire Punch yet, so let's just see if we can get through with rollout. We'll put the first Sneasel to sleep. Now I can use Moonlight to heal up and go rollout. It's going to be a 2-hitter on Sneasel, but we do manage to get through just fine. Golbat comes out next and gets 1 shot. That will bring out the Magneton after that. Rollout is a 2-hitter here. We get paralyzed, but we do manage to hit the next turn, so we do get the victory. And now I think we go for the Ice Punch on Haunter. It did curse, but we managed to get through. We'll stick with the Ice Punch here on the Kadabra, but we were fully paralyzed 1 turn, taking a lot of damage. We're going to have to use Moonlight in order to heal up here, but with Future Sight coming in, I'm not sure we're going to heal enough damage. It goes for Recover, and we're just paralyzed too much. So while we do get to Meganium, Future Sight simply ends me. Let's try another attempt, but let's go back to that Fire Punch to get through this one. I will also give a Paralyzed Cure Berry to avoid that paralysis, and let's see if that's enough. Here, Fire Punch one-shots against Sneasel. We can just stick with Fire Punch on Golbat. It looks like this is going to be a 3-hitter. Sure enough, we get the 3-hit range. We get confused, but we don't hit ourselves. Now we just need to hit the Magneton. We hit ourselves in confusion instead, so we get paralyzed, but we had the Paralyzed Cure Berry, but then we hit ourselves again. Fortunately, it missed the next Thunder Wave. Now we can get back to the Haunter. We outspeed, we hit the Fire Punch, but we don't get the 1-hit KO. I'm going to go back to rollout here against the Kadabra to see if we can build it up enough to knock out the final Meganium. So sure enough, we get back to that Pokemon. We run out of rollout because we miss, and we would need a critical hit with Fire Punch to one-shot there. So let's try yet again. I'm going to try rollout on the Haunter this time. We do manage to knock it out in a couple of hits. That allows us to completely destroy the Kadabra, and then Meganium can't stand up against the last hit from rollout. So it turns out that the best strategy is to start setting up the rollout on the Haunter after it goes Curse, since it can't really do anything to a normal type Pokemon, and just hope you get the damage range to knock the rest of the Pokemon out. We'll keep that in mind for the rest of our challengers here, as we're now to the doorstep of the league with this Clefable, and I think the Sing strats plus its elemental punches are gonna be enough to get through this section. I'm gonna keep rollout on the moveset for now. I think Sing and Moonlight are too valuable to get rid of, so it will really be that Fire Punch that's getting swapped in and out. We'll just have to see how it goes. So now Wigglytuff time. Wigglytuff is a little different. It has Rollout, Mud Slap, Defense Curl, and Sing on the moveset. So we do have the Defense Curl Rollout strats. I think we're going to replace that Mud Slap with the Fire Punch so that we can use some of the same strategies that we just saw with Clefable. Here against the Marlboro Man, my strategy is going to be pretty simple though. I'm going to try to Sing first, set up the Defense Curl to double the power of Rollout, and then just start rolling out on these Coughings. We get a 2-hitter on the first Coughing. Next Coughing comes out and we one-shot. We are going to one-shot the next Coughing as well, and with this setup, we should one-shot Wheezing. Sure enough, we do. So now by the time we get to the last 2 Coughings, it's not really that big of a deal. We can just put them to sleep and set up the rollout again, and we know that as long as we don't miss too many times, we will get the victory here. Sure enough, we got 1 miss on the first of those Coughings, but we knock out the second one just fine. So the Marlboro Man is no problem with Defense Curl rollout. So now let's go take on the rival Rival and just see if it's enough for him as well, because the extra defense curl here might just make rollout completely OP. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, I'm going to try to Sing on the Golbat. We miss and it hits Confuse Ray, but we get it to sleep the next turn. Now I'm going to try to set up Defense Curl rollout, but it wakes up immediately and we're taking a lot of damage from those wing attacks, even with the Defense Curl on. We do manage to get this one back to sleep though, and rollout will be a 2-hit KO. We missed the second hit though, so we have to set it up again. Magnemite comes out next, and if we hadn't missed, this would have been a 1-hit KO. We still managed to get it, but we took a Sonic Boom. We get Curse from the Haunter and we're fully paralyzed. And now with the Curse, we simply go down. Still, I think we can get this. Next attempt, we knock out that Golbat just fine, but then we miss against the Magnemite. Still, we can just go Mud Slap to knock that one out. And now I'm going to go back to the rollout on the Haunter, just like we did with that Clefable. We get a 1-hitter there. Now Sneasel, we miss. Let's try this again. The next hit nearly gets a 1-hit KO. We're taking a bunch of feint attacks, but we do knock that one out. And then we hit on Meganium and it is a 1-hitter. So we do manage to win. Even with some accuracy issues there, we still managed to get the ranges thanks to the defense curl doubling the power of rollout. Now we should be able to beat the Mr. Meet Your Doom at the top of the tower pretty easily. So let's just see how he goes with defense curl and rollout. So against the final executive, of course, I will defense curl against the Houndour. It just bites. We can go rollout after that, getting the 1-hitter. Out comes Coughing. We one-shot with a rollout. And now we can get hit by Smog by the Houndoom, but it doesn't matter. We easily win. The only reason for the defense curl there is to guarantee the 1-hit KO on the Coughing. But once you do that, you're just guaranteed to win that fight, barring crazy bad luck. Now we have to see if this strategy will work against Clair, though. Or do we have to go Ice Punch? I'm not sure, but I'm going to test it out and see if we can get through with the rollouts. So Clair attempt number 1, we're going to try to Sing on the first Dragonair. I do have the Paralyzed Cure Berry on. We get it to sleep. We can use Defense Curl right here. It wakes up and paralyzes me, but we heal, only to get paralyzed again when we miss the Sing. The inaccuracy of Sing is hurting us here, but we can go for rollout to see the range. We do get a 2-hitter on the first Dragonair. Next Dragonair Thunderbolts, but we one-shot it. Third Dragonair comes out. We're fully paralyzed, but we still have decent HP. So let's try to set this up again. We get the 2-hitter there. Now to Kingdra, it's smoke screens. We miss the rollout. We get hit by Surf. Now we hit rollout, but it's not going to be enough with such low HP. Still, this might just work. So let's try this one again. So this time we land this thing. We can simply set up Defense Curl, go back to our rollouts here. And this is going to be an easy 2-hit KO on the first Dragonair. We don't miss this time on the second Dragonair in one shot. We hit the third Dragonair in one shot. And now Kingdra goes smoke screen, but it doesn't matter. When we actually hit, we get the victory on that fight easily by just setting up the rollout within 5 turns. As long as you hit 5 in a row, you're perfectly good to go there. Still, it relies on the Sing and the defense curl to make that range work, but we did get it, so that tells us maybe Jigglypuff could do the same thing. We're just gonna have to see. For now, we're headed to Rival 5 with Wigglytuff, and let's see if we can get to the doorstep of the league. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 here. We're going to go ahead and set up Sing and Defense Curl against this first Sneasel. Here we just managed to one-shot with the rollout. Second comes the Golbat, which just gets 1-hit KO'd as well. Magneton does survive. It hits Thunder Wave, but we had the Paralyzed Cure Berry on, so we easily get the 2-hit KO. That brings out the Haunter, which we one-shot. So now we have to set up again here on the Kadabra, but it has terrible defense, so we just get a 2-hit KO even after it recovers, and Meganium gets destroyed. Wigglytuff gets through that fight super easily with no issues whatsoever, and now we have to see if that rollout strat's going to be enough for the league. I think we're getting through Willy Boy, and honestly we'll probably get through Koga as well, at least by adding on like Fire Punch for the Fortress. So maybe Bruno could be a problem for this one, but otherwise I think we're going to get through to Kanto. That's my prediction right now, but tell me what you think down below. For now, let's step down to our unevolved forms, starting with Clefairy. So Clefairy comes in with Rollout, Thunder Punch, Minimize, and Sing. Of course, Minimize and Sing will always give us a chance, and we can replace that Thunder Punch with the Fire Punch to be more like our evolved form here, but we're just going to have to see if we can get the ranges or not. It's obviously going to be very luck-based if we get in a tough spot and are trying to set up Minimize and Sing together, because one's inaccurate and one is nerfed in this generation, so we're just going to have to see how this actually works out. So against the Marlboro Man, I'm going to put his Pokemon to sleep and now set up some Minimize to hopefully reduce the amount of damage that we take. When he wakes up, we'll put the first Coughing back to sleep, and we can see it is a 2-hit KO with the Fire Punch. So here we're going to just continue Fire Punching on the Wheezing. It gets an explosion and misses, so we win against that Pokemon. And after that, I think we've got no issues against the rest of these. We can just Fire Punch them down. So the Marlboro Man goes down nice and easy, and it's on to rival number 4. So rival 4, attempt number 1. Let's go for the Sing on Golbat. It is faster than us and hits a wing attack, so I think we have to set up a bunch of Minimize here in order to survive. It's just hitting every single wing attack even after we set up Minimize. So we're on pretty low health at this point, but I'll go Fire Punch. It's going to be a 3-hitter on this Pokemon. Magnemite, we can one-shot. Now we're up against this Haunter. It goes Curse because it outspeeds us. We do manage to get to the Sneasel, but it has Feint Attack, so we take a lot of damage. We're down to 4 HP as we get to the Meganium, and we would need a crit to one-shot there. So we're going to have to try this one again. We clearly need to get through this with better health if we're going to get this to go. But again, we managed to get back to Sneasel. This time we do not have any Curse on though, so maybe we could win, but no. We just get body slammed down by the Meganium. We're going to need even better luck than that. The entire problem here is just that we need to have enough HP when we get to the last Pokemon or get misses. So this time we've got the Curse on. We're trying to build up Rollout, but it just doesn't work on that final Meganium. I'm not sure. We might have to upgrade to something like Fire Blast to get through. We would be much better off if we had something like the Fence Curl to make this Golbat easier to get through, but unfortunately we don't have a move like that available to us until after Clair. So here I think we have to go Quick Claw and try to Sing against this Haunter so that hopefully we can avoid the Curse in order to actually get through this one. So we finally get a run where we do set up the Rollout and manage to use it to knock out the Meganium. That was crazy though. We're gonna have to see if our luck will hold up when we get to rival 5. It does turn out that yet again the best strategy is to start setting up Rollout on the Haunter so that you build it up enough for the final Pokemon, but it's not looking great. So I'm really nervous about this one moving forward. Still, we should beat up on all the rockets pretty easily, so let's get straight to the end of the rocket section. Now here we could learn Moonlight via level up, but I don't think I want to learn this move. I think I'm keeping Minimize and Sing on my moveset, and we're going to need 2 damage dealing moves to get through. So I'm going to skip it. Tell me if you think that's a mistake in the comment section below. But here we can get to the final executive, and this should be a pretty easy fight. All we really need to do is just set up the Rollout. It's going to be a 2-hitter on the Houndour this time, but we do knock it out. That brings out the Coughing, which is also a 2-hitter. It smoke screens, but we survive, and we can get to the final Houndoom where we don't miss, and we get a pretty easy victory. Now we have to go to Claire's gym, though. We're going to have to try Ice Punch to see if it's enough for the Dragonairs, but I'm not sure if we're going to be getting the range or not with this Pokemon. We're just going to have to check and see. Of course, Never Melt Ice is an option if we're not quite getting the KO, and Blizzard is available if we absolutely need to YOLO here. So Clair attempt number 1. Let's see what we can actually do. I'm going to put this first Dragonair to sleep and set up some Minimize here to hopefully reduce the damage that I take, just in case we aren't getting the range here. Then we can go Ice Punch, and we just barely miss knocking out the first Dragonair. So this is a 2-hit KO. Maybe it's a range, but no, the second Dragonair also doesn't go down. We get paralyzed here. Now we can go Ice Punch on the third Dragonair. We get Ice Beamed twice, but we do manage to knock it out. Now I'm going to try to Sing against the Kingdra. It goes for the Smoke Screen, and then Hyper Beam ends me. We couldn't get any misses even though we had the evasion set up. I'm going to try the Never Melt Ice to see if that gives me the range on the Dragonairs, but otherwise we might be in tough shape here. So now when we come back to this Dragonair, I'm still going to put it to sleep and try to set up Minimize because I want to be more evasive just in case they do go for those Thunder Waves. And here Ice Punch still does not get the one-hit KO, and we once again get hit by Thunder Wave. So we're in bad shape here. We do get the range on the second Dragonair, so maybe it is a range. We're back to the Kingdra. It hits Surf turn 1. We miss. It hits Dragon Breath. We're fully paralyzed again. We finally put it to sleep. Now we can see what Ice Punch does. It looks like a 4-hit KO here, and she's going to Hyper Potion, of course, but if she stays asleep, that's fine, or we can get the freeze when she wakes up. And just like that, we do manage to win. But man, oh man, that was luck-based. Trying to get through there with the Sings and ultimately the freeze. You need the evasion there, otherwise you're just not surviving long enough with this Clefairy. Now we have to try to go beat Rival 5, who we already saw Rival 4 was a little bit sus. Rival 5 might be tough here. For Rival 5, I will put on the Quick Claw. We might need it to activate to win. Let's just see how this goes. Against the Sneasel, I'll put it to sleep. I'm going to go for a bunch of Minimize here to hopefully evade some attacks. That doesn't help us against Curse or Feint Attack, of course. So we're going to have to put the Sneasel back to sleep when it wakes up. Still, now Fire Punch gets the one-hit KO there. Against the Golbat, it is going to be a 3-hitter, but we do manage to knock it out, though we did get confused. We hit ourselves in confusion twice, 3 times even, against this Magneton, and it uses Swift once, but we do manage to knock it out. Now I'm going to roll out on the Haunter, but we missed the rollout, so we lose. Let's try this one again. Here we clearly need to set up rollout at some point. I'm going to try to set up rollout on the Sneasel. It's a 2-hitter there. We one-shot against the Golbat, and now we simply miss against the Magneton, and we get paralyzed. We're going to have to try again against the Haunter. We do manage to knock that one out, but now there's nothing better than rollout against the Kadabra. We once again miss, and Curse ends me. So maybe we should go Paralyze Cure Berry just so that we have a way to avoid the paralysis. Let's try this again. Now when we get to Magneton, it could hit me with Thunder Wave, but it wouldn't matter. We would still 2-shot there. Now we can set up the rollout again against the Haunter. It's going to take 2 hits to knock this one out. She confuses me, and then I miss. So we're probably losing that one too. Unfortunately, Clefairy's not super consistent here. We do manage to get to the end of the Meganium a couple of attempts later, though, with the rollout still on, with no misses. And when you don't miss against the Haunter, you can knock out Sneasel and 2-shot Meganium. So it is ultimately possible to get through. It's just not pretty. Still, Clefairy is moving on to the league with the Sing and Minimize strats, so it might have a chance as it goes through here if it can just cheese hard enough and use 2 strong attacking moves. We'll have to see how it goes. Rollout should be good for Lancey Boy, but I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get there with that move still on the moveset. We'll just have to see. That brings us to Jigglypuff, which knows Rollout, Defense Curl, Sing, and Thunder Punch at this point. Obviously, we'll just go Fire Punch, but Defense Curl Rollout we saw was pretty strong previously, so I think that's going to be more than enough to get us through this section, but let's just see how it goes. Maybe it's better than the Clefairy because of that Defense Curl. Now, we could learn Double Edge via Level Up, which would be our strongest same-type move at this point, but I don't think it's worth it. I think we're better off going for the Defense Curl Rollout strats here to try to get through, and Fire Punch for everything else. So let's just see how we do against the Marlboro Man here with this strategy. I'm going to lead off by putting the first Coughing to sleep, of course. We miss Sing and he goes for Smokescreen. I think that's an auto reset. Let's try this one again. If we just land Sing on the first Coughing, then we can go Defense Curl. Now we can start setting up Rollout. We get a 2-hitter on the Coughing. We can knock out the next one. And as long as we don't miss the next one, Wheezing tackles, but we managed to one-shot there as well. And with that done, now we can just Fire Punch the remaining Coughing because they're not going to deal enough damage, even to a Jigglypuff. So we win on the second attempt. We really just need to sleep long enough that we can set up Defense Curl and Rollout on the first Coughing, and we're good to go. So with that, let's try Rival 4 and see if he's easy with the Rollout and Defense Curl, or does he turn into a nightmare with this weak Pokemon. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, I'm going to go Sing on the Golbat, and I get the Quick Claw to activate, so I get to set it up first. We'll go Defense Curl. Now let's go Rollout, and this is a 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. Out comes the Magnemite. We hit Rollout and just barely miss the one-shot. We get paralyzed, and that's the end of that one. We're not going to get through if we just start missing and being fully paralyzed. So let's try this one again. Once again, we get the Golbat to sleep. We can now try Fire Punch instead, but we can see it's like a 4-hit hit KO. We burn the Golbat, so we do manage to get through, but we're on fairly low health here. We do one-shot against Magnemite, so that's perfectly fine. Now I think we have to roll out against the Haunter, and we simply go down to the Curse that time. Let's try this again. As long as we have one defense curl already set up, we might one-shot the Haunter here. So it was a bit of a mistake there. I should probably set that up first on the Golbat, trying to get Sing, then a defense curl, then Fire Punch it down. We'll Fire Punch down the Magnemite, and now go for rollout on Haunter. Here it does KO that Pokemon. The Sneasel comes out and goes Feint Attack, but we just one-shot it. And now against the Meganium, it goes Razor Leaf, but we're going to get a 2-hitter with rollout, and we get the Quick Claw activation to finally win against the rival. It's, again, not super consistent in that fight. It doesn't feel great, but you do get chances as long as you can actually set everything up. The Quick Claw plus Sleep is super important there, though. Still, with that done, we should be able to get through the rest of this section and just go beat up on the rest of the Rockets. Let's get to the final executive. So against the final executive, of course, the strategy is just to go Defense Curl first and then just start rolling out on the Houndour. It's a 1-hit KO. The Coughing is a 2-hitter here, but we do take it down, and Houndoom just goes Ember, and we get the very easy victory. As long as we don't get any misses, that's a perfectly easy fight. So with that being done, we're ready to now move on to Clair. Now for Clair, I think we can just add on the Ice Punch and we'll be good to go, but we saw with Clefairy we weren't getting the ranges to one-shot the Dragonairs, so we might need Never Melt Ice here. I'm honestly not sure. It might be better just to go Defense Curl rollout. We're just gonna have to test this out and see. So Clair attempt number 1, we get Thunder Waved after missing a Sing. Still, we put this one to sleep. Now we can set up the Defense Curl. Let's go for the rollout, and it looks like it's going to be a 3-hitter on the first Dragonair. Still, we do take it down. Next Dragonair paralyzes us, but we do knock it out in a single hit. We one-shot the third Dragonair. Now we need to go Sing on the Kingdra. It goes Surf. We survive. We set up the Sing, but it wakes up immediately and knocks me out. Let's try this again. And of course, if we can't land Sing, we get completely destroyed even by the first Dragonair. I'm not sure we have enough HP to actually get through at this point, but let's just test this out a little bit more. It still looks like a 3-hit range on the first Dragonair, basically no matter what we do. So let's try a slightly different strategy here. Let's go Ice Punch on the first Dragonair, getting the 2-hit KO there. Now we can try to put the next Dragonair to sleep and then set up the rollout. Once it's asleep, we're going to get the 3-hitter here with rollout, but that will guarantee the next Pokemon is a 1-hitter, but we get frozen by an Ice Beam. Are you kidding me? Let's try this again. I think we have a strat that will work. So once again, we're trying to knock out these Dragonairs with the rollout and get to the Kingdra on the 5th turn of rollout. It sets up the smoke screen, but then you do get a 1-hit KO. So Ice Punch on the first Dragonair in order to knock it out with a 2-hitter, then go rollout on the second Dragonair. You're going to have to put 2 of them to sleep, but it does ultimately work out in the end with this Pokemon. The Paralyzed Cure Berry is super important because of your low speed. You will get paralyzed at least once, but you can manage to survive that, and then you just kind of need good luck with your paralysis or to get enough misses from the Thunder Wave to actually get through. But with that being done, I think we're ready to take on rival number 5. We might have to go back to the Fire Punch, but let's just test this and see. So rival 5 attempt number 1 right here with our Jigglypuff. We're going to Sing on the first Sneasel, of course. We're going to set up the Defense Curl. Now let's see what rollout does. We get the 2-hitter, but we miss the second rollout, unfortunately. Still, we one-shot against the Golbat. That brings out Magneton. It goes Thundershock and Thundershock again. So we 2-shot that Pokemon. We'll go back to the rollout on the Haunter, but we miss. And at this point, I think we simply lose because of the miss. We probably need to add on a Quick Claw to have a better chance of getting through here. Still, if we didn't miss so many times, we might have had a chance. We get a 2-hit KO on the Sneasel this time, but then we one-shot Golbat. We're back to the Magneton. It Thunder Waves, but we 1-hit KO it. We're to the Haunter. It Curses, but we knock it out the next turn. Now we have to set up a new rollout on Kadabra, but this is just going to be a simple 2-hit KO. Meganium goes Reflect, and we get hit by Future Sight, so we lose there to the Razor Leaf, but I still think we have a chance of getting through this one. Once we get back to Haunter, once again, we'll set up the rollout again there. And now on the Kadabra, it's just a simple 2-hitter. If we get the Quick Claw on Haunter, it's an easy victory though, I think. Unfortunately, Curse is the problem. We just keep going down to Curse damage. But if we can manage to get a Quick Claw on Haunter, I think we get the victory. This time we get to Kadabra again, but with no Curse. And at this point, I think we simply get the victory because even with Future Sight, we would win. We survive on 3 HP though. It's super close to get through that final rival battle. Jigglypuff does get through, but it's purely because we didn't get cursed in that one by the Haunter. If you can manage that Quick Claw luck, you can actually get the victory. But even then, it's borderline with this Pokemon. Igglybuff might be done. We're just gonna have to see. But for now, Jigglypuff is onto the league, and it does have its chance to maybe get to Willy Boy and roll out all over him. We'll just have to see. So now it's time to come back with Cleffa, who's running Nightmare, Fire Blast, Rollout, and Sing. I accidentally started the Rocket storyline before hitting the record button, but I think that's perfectly fine. We're just going to see if we can get through these randos or not. So far, it's proving to be a little bit difficult. There seems to be a lot of spots where we need sleep and then to start setting up in order to actually get through things. We can see even this Grimer is not a one-hit KO with Fire Blast, so that gives me a little bit of concern as we get ready to go into the rival fight in a little bit here. What we do have going for us, of course, is that we can use Nightmare strats, and Fire Blast is at least a strong move, so it gives us a chance even in these tougher fights. Still, I'm not sure if this is going to be enough. So as we make it to the Marlboro Man, I'm not sure that we're even going to one-shot with Fire Blast against these Coughings, so we're going to have to see how this goes. So let's just test the Fire Blast here. It does manage to get the one-hitter. That makes me think that if we just hit Fire Blast on the first 3 Coughings, we can get to the Wheezing, and there we might want to go Nightmare strats. So let's just see how this goes. We get hit by Sludge, taking a lot of damage, but we can put it to sleep, set up Nightmare, and now I'm going to go Rollout as well, hoping to build up the Rollout here. He goes Explosion when he wakes up, and we lose. We're going to need better luck than that if we're going to get through this one. And it turns out that the Coughings are not necessarily one-hit KOs. It seems to be a range. So we can also fail to knock them out and get in bad shape that way. So this is really not looking good. I think we might need Charcoal to guarantee that we're getting one-hitters here. And once we get the Wheezing to sleep, we're really hoping to get a long sleep on this Pokemon. When we fail that, we're simply losing this fight as well. This time we do manage to knock out Wheezing. We get a knockout the first of the Coughings after him with the Rollout, and it manages to hit on the last Coughing, even though we got 1 accuracy drop. So ultimately we do manage to get through. It's just not really pretty in that section. So here it's time for Rival 4. Let's just see how Cleffa does here. I think we have to start by putting this first Golbat to sleep. Of course, we get hit by the Confuse Ray and hit ourselves in confusion. We take massive damage from the Wing Attack as well, so we simply lose the first attempt. We probably need to have the Quick Claw on here. This time we at least get to Haunter and we knock it out with Rollout. I think we need to go for Fire Blast from here on out to win, but if we're even paralyzed 1 turn, we simply lose that fight. Now, it does appear that Fire Blast is a 2-hit KO there on the Golbat, but we missed 3 times on that Pokemon, so we simply have to reset there because we have no PP left for the Magnemite afterward. Once we get through that, if we just hit Fire Blast, we'll one-shot on the Magnemite, but of course, we had to miss and get paralyzed, and I think that again is a reset. We need like perfect luck to get through this fight, otherwise we're just getting completely destroyed. Here when we get to the Haunter, I honestly think our best play is to go for Rollout and start building it up, hoping to be able to knock out the remaining Pokemon. Sneasel goes for Quick Attack, but we do knock it out. That brings out Meganium. We hit first, hitting the Rollout, but Curse takes us to low health and Body Slam ends us. We would have needed a critical hit on the Meganium to win. This time I'll try Fire Blast on Haunter, which does get the KO there. Fire Blast on this Sneasel also does really good damage. Let's see what Fire Blast does on the final Meganium. It goes Reflect. Fire Blast does a lot. Now we get paralyzed by Body Slam though, and we would not have survived there. We can see Fire Blast would be a 2-hitter on that Pokemon. I'm honestly not sure if we could survive with some sort of like Sing Nightmare strat there. So we probably have better odds getting through this fight by, say, going for like a sleep on the Haunter with a Quick Claw. That's probably our only really good way through. So that's what I'm going to go for here. Of course, Haunter doesn't go to sleep. And at that point, I think we can only roll out here and just pray that we somehow manage to get through Meganium with a crit. We do manage to get through that time. So it wasn't pretty. It took a ton of attempts there, but we did ultimately manage to beat the rival. We can now move on with our little Cleffa. Let's see how this goes. So ultimately, little Cleffa does make its way all the way up to the final executive. Let's see how this fight actually goes. Against Houndour, I'm going to just go straight into rollout. This is going to be a 2-hitter. That brings out Coughing next, another 2-hit KO, and we missed the rollout, so we might lose here. In fact, we do. Nothing with little Cleffa is consistent here. It's all perfectly dependent on luck to actually hit moves. If we hit everything, I think we have good chances of getting through. We even get the Quick Claw on the Houndoom, so we win against the executive on the second attempt, and we are able to move on in the game. So now we're gonna have to see how Clair goes, and we might have to go as far as getting access to Blizzard. I think that puts this Pokemon into the OPTMs category, because while I can get behind having one move like Fire Blast here, if we have to go for multiple moves like Fire Blast and Blizzard in order to get through this section, that is definitely unreasonable. We'll see if it gets that bad, but we're gonna have to test a little bit to see. It could be kind of similar to the Jigglypuff, needing something like Ice Punch on the first Dragonair or two, and then going for some sort of rollout strat to get through the Kingdra. It's going to depend on what ranges we get against the Dragonairs. We could go a Hardstone to try to get more damage with the rollout. That could be a strategy, but we'll just have to see. Still, a move like Blizzard probably guarantees that we get the most shots at the Kingdra, and at that point it might be as simple as a sleep rollout strat if nothing else works, but I'm really not looking forward to doing that. Still, we might at least have to go Ice Punch to get through the dragons. I'll just see if the randos are possible without it. So all I can say is on the Dragonair just before Clair, the range did not look good with the rollout strat. And it's also worth noting that we don't learn Blizzard and we don't learn Ice Punch. So we don't have a whole lot of other moves that are available to use here. Like Icy Wind is super effective, but that's not going to be that strong. So this could turn out to be an absolute nightmare with this Pokemon. I'm going to test this out and see how we do. We may be relying on an awful lot of paralysis luck here in order to actually get a run where this actually works out. I'm going to put on the Paralyzed Cure Berry just to see, but I'm not confident that Cleffa gets through this one. So Clair attempt number 1. The first Dragonair goes Slam against me, which is actually kind of nice. I'm going to Nightmare this Pokemon and then start setting up Rollout right here so that hopefully we can take it down. That gets us to the second Dragonair. It Thunder Waves. Apparently I did not complete putting on the Paralyzed Cure Berry, so I actually get wrecked on that one. Let me try this again, because I'm definitely sure we don't want to get paralyzed in this one. Still, the fact that we're getting Slam from the Dragonair is kind of good in a way, because it means that we should have some opportunities to actually set up some Sings here. We get to the second Dragonair. It misses Slam turn 1 and turn 2, so we knock that one out. That brings us to the third Dragonair that goes for the Paralysis. So now we've actually made it through to Kingdra. However, it just Hyper Beams and knocks me out, so we simply lose. But at least we can see some possibility of getting through here. This time we get a Thunder Wave miss from the first Dragonair. We miss our first rollout, but I think that's okay. We get to the second Dragonair. It goes Slam turn 1. Slam turn 2, but we do knock that one out. Dragonair 3 slams us, but we do knock it out as well. Back to Kingdra, and of course it only goes for the Hyper Beam there. So the Quick Claw might actually be the correct item. If we can just get a run where they just go slam the whole way, we might be able to get the speed boost on that final Kingdra and be able to actually get a win by putting it to sleep or something. Let's test this some more and see. Now, we really don't like when we get a critical hit slam from this first Dragonair. Let's see what Fire Blast does just for the sake of argument. Clearly does basically nothing. I think we at least try Icy Wind since it will deal more damage. So we're going to throw this on over Fire Blast. I think we keep the Sing plus Nightmare strats. This is probably going to be nightmarish, but we just have to see. So this time we're going to Sing on the first Dragonair, Nightmare it, and then let's see what Icy Wind does from here. Oh, a lot more. Plus we can get the speed drop, allowing us to actually get a victory there. Second Dragonair, we get the Quick Claw to activate. Let's go for the Icy Wind here for the speed drop, and that will allow us to get through that one as well. Third Dragonair hits Slam, we hit the Sing. Icy Wind gets a critical hit one-shot, and we're back to Kingdra. Once again, Hyper Beam there. We would need the Quick Claw to get through on that one. Very interestingly though, with this, we have a speed strat that simply allows us to get through these first Pokemon without actually needing to put them to sleep. We just need to get the speed drop on them, and then we're guaranteed to knock them out the next turn. So we get back to Kingdra on much better health this time, though we are paralyzed. We get the Quick Claw to put it to sleep. I'm going Nightmare here, and now I think we roll out. It's going for Smokescreen, but we actually managed to get the KO thanks to the Quick Claw. Are you kidding me? Oh, little Cleffa. Oh, it completely destroys Claire once we go for the Icy Wind strats. Who thought Icy Wind would be the solution? Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. We're moving on in this one with little baby Clef. My son would be very, very happy to see this. But now the problem is I don't think we really want to forget Icy Wind. I think we're going to need it at the end of the game. We might have to YOLO a little bit here in order to get through the rival and to get through the early parts of the league, because this would be our best move against Lance's Dragonites. Still, I think no matter how we look at it, this Pokemon's going to be so reliant on Quick Claw going forward. I'm not sure we're going to be able to justify getting it all the way through the league. I think there's going to come a point where I'm going to have to go for something OP in order to help it out. We can, of course, learn Fire Blast again with this Pokemon. It's not illegal to do so, but man, does it feel bad. So here as we go into the Rival 5 fight, I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I'm going in with the moveset as I have it right now. Let's just see if this works or not. So first off, we've got the Sneasel, and I think this is a good spot for Sing, Nightmare, and Rollouts. It's not like the Rollout's going to do a ton of damage, but it should build up enough that we can get through Golbat in a couple hits, but we're on very low health here. Magneton comes out, we do not get the one-shot, so that tells me that that strategy does not likely work. Let's see if we can get anything else here. We can Sing and Nightmare, and then go for Icy Wind to make the opponent slower. We'll need a couple of them to guarantee that Sneasel's slower than us, but we do at least get through to the Golbat now. It Confuse Rays, we're going to need to put this one to sleep to have any shot, I think. Then I'll Nightmare and I'll go Icy Wind again in order to guarantee that I have the speed advantage. That brings out Magneton. It's also faster than me, but I get the Quick Claw to activate. Let's go Icy Wind so that we're faster. Let's go Nightmare, and then we're just trying to chip this one down. It stays asleep and keeps getting hit by Nightmare, so we do take it down. That brings out the Haunter. This might be the rollout spot, as that might be the only way through, and we did not get the luck to hit there, so we simply lose. Let's try again. Once again, we just can't get anything to go there though, so this is going to be really, really tough and might rely on us actually learning the Fire Blast again to actually get through. So this time I started building up the rollout on the Magneton. We get Confuse Raid by the Haunter and hit ourselves in confusion, which is clearly not what we wanted to see there, so we lose. But that may be the strategy, is to try to build up rollout on Magneton so that we can hopefully take down that Haunter that comes out after. Now, to be clear, I don't think Confuse Ray's the end of the world. We just have to not hit ourselves in confusion, which is a 50-50 shot. However, if we take too much damage from the Sneasel or the Golbat, it's basically game over on this one. And that's entirely because I think we have to have enough HP left over to survive a few turns of curse damage as we set up the rollout towards the end of this one. So back to Haunter, this time it curses, we hit rollout, so we knock it out. That brings out Kadabra, we hit the rollout and get the one-hit KO there. Now it's all about this Meganium. We sing, I'm going to Nightmare, please stay asleep. We go Icy Wind to deal a lot of damage. It's hurt by the Nightmare. We miss Icy Wind. We're down to 1 HP, but we hit Icy Wind there. So with 1 HP remaining, Cleffa gets through the rival and gets to move on to the league. Oh, that is stupid. Oh my goodness. How does this Cleffa manage to get all the way to the league on minimum battles? Are you kidding me? We've cheesed quite a bit, but the Icy Wind strat was not something that I envisioned coming into this, but it does allow you to outspeed and get some advantages there. But getting through on 1 HP remaining on the final Rival 5 fight in this section is just nuts. It does not bode well for this Pokemon going forward, but I think this is the best that we've got. Keep in mind, the next fight has 3 Pokemon that are weak to ice. So Icy Wind will be effective there, kind of. And I think we can roll out against the rest of things or Nightmare them down. But I'm not confident that we're getting through with this Pokemon. I think this entirely will come down to Quick Claw luck in a lot of spots. And it's probably not going to work. But we'll just have to see. For now, Cleffa gets through. We have to check on Igglybuff. So Igglybuff comes in with Rollout, Thunder, Fire Blast, and Sing. It's already gone all in on the OPTMs, so it's definitely going in that OPTMs category. There's just no way that we treat this one as legitimate. So we're just gonna have to see how this goes. Like, based on the results of the last Pokemon, I'm not sure if this works out or not. It's definitely going to be sus though. Still, we won't know till we test it, so let's just get through this and see how it actually works out. Now, Igglybuff in the last section actually had an illegal move on its moveset. I had given it Thunder, thinking that its evolved forms would learn the move, so it would too. Turns out it doesn't. So you would have had to get through with Rollout, Sing, and like return strats there against Chucky Boy, but we know Chuck likes to punt, so I'm gonna move on with this one with the Max Friendship return. Let's just see how this goes in this section with this moveset. I may need to go back and just specifically redo the Chucky fight with the Igglybuff, but I do believe we could eventually get it to go. Of course, Max Friendship return is the strongest move we could get on this Pokemon at this point, and it does do pretty good damage, at least against these randos in the Rocket storyline, so I think it's gonna get us through pretty easily, but let's find out if that's actually the case. So we have made it to the Marlboro Man at the top of the radio tower. Let's just see how the Fire Blast does here against the Coughings. Yeah, it's going to be a 2-hit KO. So I think we're better off going for return here. 1, it's more accurate. 2, it's also getting the 2-hit KOs, so it doesn't really change much. Of course, if we can't hit anything, we're going to lose here. Weezing's Sludge is way too powerful. So let's try this one again, hoping not to get smokescreened too many times, and at least if we do, to not get misses. This time we get a better range going to the Weezing. I'm going to Fire Blast this Pokemon, and it looks like it's a 2-hit KO. We get poisoned, which is pretty bad, but now maybe after the level up, Fire Blast just one-shots against the Coughings. It one-shots there, and it gets us through the next Coughing. So once we level up there, we are good to go with Igglybuff. We can get through the Marlboro Man on the next attempt. So now we have to go down to the rival and see how this goes with this moveset, or do we end up having to go for Icy Wind strats? This is going to be nuts to see how this one actually works out. So Rival 4, attempt number 1 right here. He leads off with the Golbat, of course. I'm going to Sing against this Pokemon. Of course, we don't like when we get confused, but once we get him asleep, let's just see how much damage return does. It is a 2-hitter on the Golbat. So we get through to the Magnemite. Here we can go Fire Blast to knock that one out. That brings out Haunter, and I've run out of PP in the Fire Blast. Clearly, I did not recover PP coming into this fight. Still, we'll put it to sleep as it sets up the curse. We'll try to go Rollout, but unfortunately, I don't think we're getting through this one without crazy Quick Claw luck because of the fact that we didn't have enough HP. So let's try this one again with proper PP in our moves. since Fire Blast would be pretty good in a lot of spots here. So back again, we will again put the first Golbat to sleep and go for the returns to knock that one out. Back to Fire Blast for the Magnemite. That's perfectly fine. Now let's see what we do against Haunter. We missed the Fire Blast, so we didn't get to see the range from full health, but we do knock it out the next turn. Sneasel comes out. We win the Quick Claw flip and one shot with a Fire Blast. That means it's Meganium time. It goes Reflect. We go Fire Blast, doing over half. Now I'm going Return, and the problem is Curse plus the Body Slam plus the Reflect. If not for Reflect, we would have knocked him out there, so a crit also would have gotten the job done. Still, I'm interested what the range is on Haunter from full health. We won't get to see it again this time, but that's perfectly fine. We'll get back to Sneasel. It goes Leer, which is, I think, okay, though that will power up Meganium's Body Slam here. So I think we go for Sing, even though we're under the effects of Curse. Let's Fire Blast, and we get the critical hit, so we get through that time. I think we could have survived one more turn if he didn't wake up and knock him out with the return, so that would have been my strategy. Still, we managed to get through on that one, and we're ready to move on through the rest of these randos. So let's just see how this goes. Now, it turns out that max power return on a normal type Pokemon is pretty good, even on a little Igglybuff. So we get up to the top of the tower with no real issues. Let's see how this fight goes, though. I'm going to lead off with return on the Houndour. We get flinched by a bite, but we knock it out the next turn. Coughing is going to be a 2-hit KO, but we do take it down. Now to the Houndoom. Let's just see. It bites. We have 1 HP, and we do not get the KO, but we get the Quick Claw the next turn, so we win. Oh, Igglybuff just cheeses there on that fight. That does allow us to get through. We should be perfectly fine with return, I think, to get through the randos inside of Claire's gym. I'm nervous about when we actually get to Claire herself. We're going to have to see what works there. It's possible we're going to have to go for the Icy Wind strat again on the basis of getting the speed advantage against those random Dragonairs and use that in order to knock them out efficiently, and then hopefully be able to put the Kingdra to sleep and set up something. Maybe the returns are enough there. I'm not sure, but it's going to be tough no matter how we do it. So it looks like the Dragonair just before Claire was another 2-hit KO with the return, but that makes me think we do need the Icy Wind strat here on the basis that if it's a 2-hit KO, we would still need a bunch of misses to get through, whereas Icy Wind over Fire Blast gives us that speed drop that we need. We can always relearn Fire Blast, which is why I think this is perfectly legit. So we're just going to forget that and get access to Icy Wind instead. Let's see how this goes. So Claire attempt number 1, I'm just going Icy Wind turn 1 as she goes for the Surf on me. Second Dragonair comes out, it misses Thunder Wave. We get the Icy Wind, so we can knock it out in 2 hits. Third Dragonair misses Thunder Wave as well, so we slow it down and knock it out. That brings out the Kingdra. We're on good HP here as it goes Surf. We need to land Sing. We get it. We're going for Icy Wind to reduce the speed of the Kingdra. Now let's see what return does. It gets good damage there. She's going to have to Hyper Potion. It looks like a 3-hit KO here, but we get the crit and we win against Claire on the first attempt with Igglybuff. Are you kidding me? Little Igglybuff is just like, I don't care. I'm just going to completely destroy Claire here. Oh, the timely crit, but I don't think it would have mattered. I think we were going to get the KO after that anyway, because she full healed there. So we were going to get another hit on her because we were already faster thanks to the Icy Wind. So ultimately, Icy Wind strats are kind of OP there on Claire. If you can at least just survive a few hits, you can set up Icy Wind and get like a 2-hit KO on the Dragonairs, at least if you have anything close to decent special attack, which is nuts. I never actually thought that we would end up using Icy Wind in these runs, but apparently it actually has some usefulness. So now, of course, it all comes down to how we do against the rival with this Igglybuff, because we know he's going to be tough. We've already seen it with Cleffa, but maybe the max power return allows us to get some better ranges on some of these Pokemon and simply get through a little bit easier. We're going to have to see. So here we are, Rival 5 attempt number 1. I still think we sing on the first Sneasel, and now we go for the return right here. That gets a one-hit KO. There's no need to sing there. Okay, well, I will still sing on this Golbat because it will still outspeed after an Icy Wind, but we can get the 2-hit KO there, so that's perfectly fine. Now Magneton, it goes Thunder Shock, I sing. I'm going Icy Wind to reduce its speed, and then let's just see what the return does here. It's not great. We manage a paralyzed Cure Berry, but we did not manage to survive after we just missed Sing over and over then after that. So we're going to have to see how this actually works out. Let's try this again. So let's stick with return on Sneasel. Let's see what return does on the Golbat. It's a simple 2-hitter. We just take way too much damage after the Screech there. So I think we have to go Quick Claw here to get a good advantage on that Golbat. So let's just test this a little bit more. Here we get the Quick Claw to activate on Sneasel, so we get a 1-hit KO there. We sing and put the Golbat to sleep. Icy Wind and Icy Wind will do the job there. Back to Magneton. We get a Quick Claw activation. We can now lower its speed, go for return, and it's not like return's doing crazy damage here, but it will get like a 3-hit KO after that. Now we're to the Haunter. It goes for the confusion status on us, but because of the fact that we're already paralyzed, we're basically losing this fight. We can knock out Kadabra, we get to Meganium, but Body Slam just ends me. So let's try this again. Now it turns out that Sneasel is a range with the return, so that is something to keep in mind. I still think we're gonna have to get through the Golbat with decent HP to get through this one. This time we hit a rollout on Haunter, preventing it from setting up a curse. We get Future Sight from the Kadabra, but we're back to Meganium. Here I think we only get through with a Quick Claw return critical hit though, because we were on such low health. Body Slam once again simply ends me. So I think we could go for the strategy of our evolved form, which is to go for Defense Curl rollout, since the Defense Curl TM is legitimately available at this point. So the entire idea here would be to replace Return with Defense Curl. The whole point is that technically we could relearn Return later on, whereas Defense Curl allows us to double the power of rollout, and I think we would be able to one-shot against the Magneton with the powered up rollout here. Let's just test this and see. So at this point, we do want to put the Sneasel to sleep so that we can set up our first Defense Curl and now go for rollout. It's going to be a 2-hitter on that Pokemon. The Golbat gets a critical hit, which is terrible, but we do one-shot there. Unfortunately, we had such low HP after the crit that we couldn't survive. Let's try this again. This time, Golbat doesn't crit, so we get through with much better HP. Magneton's going to go Thunder Wave, but that's perfectly fine. That's why I put on the Paralyzed Cure Berry, but we still did not get the 1-hit KO there, so that might not actually work out. This time we do get the 1-hitter on the Magneton though, so we can continue to roll out on the Haunter, knocking that Pokemon out. Now we just have to see how we do on Kadabra. We get a 2-hitter. That will bring us to the Meganium, but unfortunately we are in such low HP that we simply lose that attempt. Let's try this again. We really want to land the Sing on Sneasel and keep it asleep for a lot of turns so that we can get through with no damage there, and then hope that Golbat doesn't hit anything strong. We missed rollout on the Golbat, which also I think is a reset because we wouldn't deal enough damage to the Magneton after. We don't necessarily mind Screech from the Sneasel as long as we can set up a few Defense Curls after that without it waking up. What we don't like is when we only get 1 hit against the Sneasel though, because that means that we're getting through to the Magneton still with a couple of rollouts. We managed to get through Haunter yet again here, so we will at least get a try our hand at Kadabra as it goes Future Sight, but once again, we're probably getting wrecked by the Meganium with its Razor Leaf, so we would have to get there with better HP than that. So this time we're through to the Kadabra on better HP. We hit 1 rollout, we hit 2 rollouts, we've made it to Meganium, it goes Reflect, and we miss the rollout and get hit by Future Sight, and that's game over. We would have needed a crit there in order to win. This time with the Quick Claw, we managed to get through to the Kadabra without getting any curse. So we get hit by Future Sight here. We're going to have to really hope for some rollout luck, but unfortunately Future Sight takes me down there. Otherwise we would have had a chance with the Quick Claw, even with paralysis on. So we're going to have to just try this one again. Once again to Kadabra on a little less health, but with no curse. So we knock that one out. Back to Meganium. It goes Poison Powder, but again, Future Sight is the end of me there. The Kadabra is causing me serious problem. This time we get the luck to get the Quick Claw to activate though, and that allows us to finally beat the rival. It took tons of attempts there. I've been resetting for a small eternity to get this little Igglybuff through. It ultimately worked, but I was on the borderline of calling this one a fail, so we might have had to drop rare candies or something to progress. I'm not sure how we're going to do against the League with this one. Still, it gets through, so I guess we have to give it some credit. Let's see our results so far. So coming back to our results, I think we have to declare that while yes, Igglybuff and Cleffa are in the pass column, they weren't really great. Now, Cleffa jumped into the member picks column because, like I said, I will save it if it fails, but technically it passed legitimately, so I'll get it moved back up into that normal pass column, and we'll just see how it goes from here. But now with that section finally done, it's time to get into what could be absolutely brutal. Our fire type Pokemon in Ninetales and its unevolved form, the member pick Vulpix. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I think this could be really, really rough. So we're just going to test this and see, but I'm not making any promises about this Pokemon getting through. So Ninetales comes into this section. I can see it knows Dig and Headbutt already, but it also knows Confuse Ray and Safeguard. I'm 99% sure we're going to have to upgrade this moveset in order to have any shot of actually getting through here. But first, we've got to take on all of the randos. So let's just see how they go. Now, we could always learn Fire Blast at this point. Max Friendship Return is also available, so we'll just see how those moves go. But for now, I'm going to try to run with my moveset as it is, since I think Headbutt plus Dig is going to be more than enough for most of these randos inside of the radio tower. Confuse Ray does also give us a bit of a YOLO strat, since we can use it in order to confuse opponents and give us an extra chance to move first. And we have enough speed that we should be able to get a lot of flinch strats on things. So we make it to the Marlboro Man. Let's just see if we can dig and get the victories here. Against the first Coughing, Dig is not a one-hit KO, but we get a flinch thanks to the King's Rock. So we can go for that as well. It looks like a Headbutt into a Dig is also an effective strategy here. We get poisoned on this one, but ultimately we should be able to get through. It's just not going to be super pretty, but certainly possible. This time we get Explosion from Wheezing while we're underground, and that should be more than enough to finish off the rest of the team. And just like that, it took a couple attempts, but we did manage to get through that fight, and we're on to the rival fight here, where we're going to have to see how this one goes with our current moveset. We may need some upgrades to actually get the victory. Still, let's just test this out and see. First attempt against the rival. He leads off with the Golbat. I'm going to go for Headbutt here. He goes for the Wing Attack. I get confused, but I think this is perfectly fine. Feraligatr comes out next. I'm going to try to confuse it. Of course, when we hit ourselves every turn in confusion, we simply lose. Let's try this one again. So I'll try to give Golbat a taste of its own medicine with my own Confuse Ray. Let's do that to Feraligatr too. It hits itself. We can now start flinching with the Headbutts. It hits itself again, and that allows us to get through that Pokemon nice and easy. Dig is the solution for Haunter, of course. It really can't do anything there. We'll Dig against the Magnemite, getting an easy victory. And now we can just Headbutt here on Sneasel. It can Quick Attack all at once, but that's not enough to defeat our Ninetales. So we get through that nice and easy on the second attempt. Now we should have no issue against all the randos, but we may need to think about our moveset when we get to Clair. For now, though, I'll just get as many levels as I possibly can. And sure enough, Ninetales gets to the top of the radio tower with no real issues. We can now go for Dig on the Houndour. This should be an easy one-hit KO. Sure enough, it is. Out comes the Coughing. Let's see if Dig gets the one-shot there. It does not. This is a 2-hitter. We get poisoned by Sludge, but that should still be fine. Houndoom comes out last. We outspeed, we go dig, and it survives with just a little bit of HP, but we'll just headbutt it down from there, getting us the victory on that executive with no real issues. Now, however, we need to really think about our moveset as we go to the next fight, because we are going to be at a major disadvantage here. And honestly, I'm not sure what we can really do. We could, of course, go max power return. We could go Fire Blast with Sunny Day. We could go for Iron Tail. There's really not a whole lot else that's available to us. So honestly, this just might not work out. We're just going to have to see, but I'm not feeling confident going into Clair. Sunny Day might be required to reduce her damage output though, and that may be the key to getting through the first Dragonair and the Kingdra with something like a max power, max friendship return. King's Rock might still be required in order to get flinches. We'll just have to see. This is honestly a spot where if you were running this like in a standard solo run, I would think you would give this Pokemon like Hidden Power Dragon or something like that to deal with Clair, because honestly I think that would be your best bet of getting through. So you'd have nearly max DVs but not max DVs for that one in order to get the Hidden Power Dragon. And at least when you got here, you would have a really strong move to use against Clair's entire team. Here, we're going to have to see if we can even get through some Dratinis with our current moveset. And sure enough, the Headbutt doesn't even one-shot a Dratini here, so I think we can pretty easily say that we need an upgrade. Now, I expect that to change here with the Max Friendship return, so let's just see how that goes. And sure enough, we are now at least one hit KOing against Dratinis, so that's kind of nice. I don't think I'll learn the move Fire Spin. I don't think it's actually going to be helpful. So we'll skip that for now and try to get through with this moveset that we've got. Now I want to see against this Dragonair just before Clair what return does. And it is going to be a 2-hit KO here. So we are going to need some serious luck in this gym leader fight if we're going to get through. I think Paralyzed Cure Berry makes a lot of sense here. Hopefully she goes for paralysis against me and not something else. But I think we're also going to have to try to confuse the first Dragonair, hope it hits itself, and then hopefully knock it out from there. Let's just see. So Clair attempt number 1, I'm going to go for the Confuse Ray. We get the Dragonair to hit itself in confusion. I'll safeguard here even, and then after it hits itself twice, we can simply knock that one out. That brings out Kingdra. We confuse it. It goes Surf here, dealing over half to me. Return does not do half to it. We would need a critical hit or for that Kingdra to hit itself in confusion a couple times to have a shot of getting through here. So let's try this one again. It's worth noting that when the first Dragonair hits itself in confusion, that's not enough for us to simply knock it out with return. It still takes 2 hits after that, either it hitting itself or us getting 2 hits to knock that one out. Still, Confuse Ray does help here. We get a smoke screen from Kingdra this time. It hits itself once in confusion. Now it snaps out of confusion, but let's see if we can get the KO from this range. We can. That now makes me think that we might have a shot of getting through this one. I managed to knock out the next Dragonair. We have 2 returns left for the final Dragonair, and we get a crit. So it didn't take that many resets, honestly, to get through Clair. That's nuts. Still, it only really works because of the Confuse Ray strat, which gives you some chance at least of Dragonairs hitting themselves in confusion. Kingdra, because it doesn't get a 1-hit KO, can go for Smokescreen there in order to try to lower your accuracy, which is also just a bad strat on her part, because we're basically guaranteed to then get more chances to knock her out. Because more so than accuracy, she should want to simply knock us out with 2 hits. But the game's AI is not made to see 2-hit KOs. They'll definitely see 1-hitters. They'll see situations where, like, okay, if I use this move, I win, but they don't look ahead to see 2-hit KOs. And that's one of the things that I think AI in Pokemon generally could be improved upon with, is to see the situation where a particular move on their moveset would guarantee a 2-hit KO against the player. If that were implemented in these generations, I think fights like this one would be completely impossible, because she would see, for example, that if she just goes Surf with the first Dragonair and then Surf with the Kingdra, she probably wins 100% of the time. Still, we're fortunate that the Gen 2 AI isn't that smart, so it turns out that we can get this to go. So with that, we're on to Rival 5 with this Ninetales without too much time lost. So I think we're going to be just fine here. Let's just see how this fight actually goes. So Rival 5 attempt number 1 right here. Let's just see how he goes. He leads off with Sneasel. I go Return and don't quite get the one-hitter, a 2-hit KO. Feraligatr comes out next. Let's go Confuse Ray right here. It hits Water Gun but doesn't do that much. We can go for the Return and it looks like a 3-hitter here. We don't get any turns of it hitting itself in Confusion, but we do get through to Golbat. Just make sure that we don't get confused here. We get a critical hit one-shot after that. We can dig against the Haunter, getting a one-hitter. Kadabra, we can go for the Return, and that brings out Magneton, where we simply dig, and that is a one-hit KO. So turns out that Return and dig is enough to get you through this entire section with Ninetales. Probably has to go for the Fire Blast at some point in the league, and I'm not sure this Pokemon really has anything for Lance at the end. So I think Lance at the very least will be a wall for this Pokemon. We'll just have to see how it goes as we go through this section. We may need some Sunny Day Fire Blast strats in order to even have a chance going through this, but we'll find out when we get there. For now, Ninetales is through. Let's look at our member pick, Vulpix. So here with Vulpix, we're coming in with Flamethrower, Confuse Ray, Dig, and Hypnosis. Of course, Hypnosis was the move that channel member Roy Merkel threw onto this Pokemon in order to save it, and that might change the calculus quite a bit here, because if we can put opponents to sleep, we might have a chance. We're not a super fast Pokemon, but we will gain quite a few levels in this section, and I think that will be enough to give us a reasonable chance of getting through as we go through this section. We're also just going to have to see what kind of ranges we get when we actually get to Clair, though. Confusion plus Hypnosis might be required there. Still, for this Rocket section, we've got Flamethrower for everything, which is basically as good as it gets for this Pokemon. So I think we're getting through, except we lose to the first Rocket right here. Oh no. Granted, I came in not on full health, so that affected things a little bit, but with Sleep, we can definitely get this one to go. So we shouldn't really have too much issue getting through these Rockets. Let's just see. And sure enough, with no issues, we make it to the Marlboro Man, so let's just see how he likes our Flamethrower. Here, this is a one-hit KO on the first Coughing, and that makes me think we're probably getting through this just fine, because as long as the Coughings are going down in a single hit, that really means only Wheezing could potentially live 2, and even then we do over half, so it's just an easy 2-hit KO as it just tackles. We get a level up, and we could learn Fire Spin. We will skip that move. I don't think it's going to be that worthwhile to have just a little bit of chip damage, so instead we'll just use the Flamethrower to get through everything. It's on to the basement and the Rival. Let's see how this goes against his Feraligatr. The one benefit of going up against Feraligatr is that Water Gun isn't that strong, but when you're dealing with these unevolved Pokemon, it can still do significant damage. So Rival 4 attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to try to Hypnosis on the Golbat just in case. Let's see what Flamethrower does. Yeah, it does less than half. Still, we managed to get the 2-hitter there, so that's pretty good. We can go Hypnosis on the Feraligatr. We missed the first one, and we see it looks like we're getting 3 or 4 hit KO'd by the Water Gun here. So I'm going to confuse this Pokemon, and then we'll start going for our digs here. And we see Dig did like nothing. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, let's try this one again. Maybe the Flamethrower is still better even when resisted, so let's try that instead. So back to Feraligatr, we will put it to sleep. We will confuse it so it can hit itself when it wakes up. And now, yeah, we're still not getting a great range with Flamethrower, but it does look better, more like maybe a 6-hit KO. And if it just stays asleep enough turns, we do get through with no damage there. That brings out the Haunter. I'm just going to stick with Flamethrower, but it does survive and use Curse. That doesn't really matter though, because Sneasel's going to go down to a single Flamethrower, and the same is true for this Magnemite. So we get the victory on the next attempt. It's not beautiful by any means, but it is certainly possible to get through with that setup. You're just going to need a really long sleep on that Feraligatr. Still, after that, I think Flamethrower is enough for everything on our way up to the final executive. So let's just spam the move until we get through this section. So sure enough, we make it to the top of the tower in the final executive. So let's just see how it goes. Against the Houndour, I'm just going to go dig, and that is enough to get a one-hit KO. Coughing comes out next. Flamethrower is the obvious play there due to its lower special defense. And now against the Houndoom, I'm actually going to try to put this one to sleep. We get Smog and Poisoned, but I think that's perfectly fine. Dig's probably a 2-hit KO. Sure enough, it is, but we will survive nicely and just get that done. Probably should have just gone Dig from the beginning. I was trying to avoid any status or flinches, but ultimately it wasn't a big deal at the end. But with that done, now we have to get to the part that will be really challenging, trying to get through Clair on minimum battles with this Pokemon. There is a possibility that I forget Dig to learn Sunny Day, though I'm not sure that that will be enough, and we might actually have to even forget Dig to learn Max Power Return, just so that we have a stronger move to use here, since I fully expect that we're not going to be dealing enough damage against even the randos, and I don't think we want to forget Flamethrower. I think that move is too good to forget at this point. Of course, there could be a spot where we end up forgetting Flamethrower to go for the Fire Blast instead, but I think that's pretty far off still. For now, I think we'd mostly prefer the higher accuracy and maybe using Sunny Day together with that move in order to get an advantage. I'm honestly not sure. Dig might be the move that just simply has to go. It would be really nice if there were a move reminder in this generation so that you could safely forget a move like Flamethrower and then relearn it later. Still, I think that the Max Power Return's probably going to be the best play for us, but I'm going to test and just see here. Maybe with sleep strats we can manage to get through with Dig or Flamethrower or something. And the big thing here is that a resisted Flamethrower is stronger than a neutrally effective Dig. So it really may be that we're just best off forgetting Dig in order to learn the stronger move to get through these dragons. After all, there aren't that many Pokemon that we're going to want to use Dig against. Flamethrower will generally get the job done. So let's just try this with the Max Power Return here, because this is the only way I think we get through these Dragonairs. It's worth noting that the Max Friendship Return doesn't even one-shot on a Dratini here, so it's not like adding this move on just means that we get guaranteed victories. We still have to go for Hypnosis strats in order to win. All it really means is that we get better ranges here, but this might be a 3-hit KO on the Dragonair. Sure enough, it is. So we are going to need some serious luck as we get into this next fight. It might even be worth giving a Pink Bow here to deal more damage with the return, and just hope that our speed is enough to allow us to put everything to sleep and get the victory. Let's see how this goes against Clair. I'm not super confident here. So Clair attempt number 1, we go Hypnosis on the first Dragonair. Now let's go Return. We can get a 2-hit KO here with the Pink Bow from the looks of it. We get to level 44 as Kingdra comes out. We miss Hypnosis, it hits Surf, and we nearly get 1-hit KO'd. And when we miss the next Hypnosis, we simply go down. We have to land Hypnosis here to have any shot of winning. In fact, I think if we miss Hypnosis on the first 2 Pokemon, we can just auto reset because of the fact that we are basically guaranteed to lose at that point. Once we get that Thunder Wave on, for example, we're not going to win this fight. So it takes a few attempts, but we get back to Kingdra only to once again get hit. We do manage to put it to sleep this time. I'm going to also Confuse Ray while it's asleep, because if it wakes up, I want it to hit itself. It looks like a 4-hit KO from here with the return. She Hyper Potions there. She full heals. We have to put it back to sleep. We do get the sleep on, and if it stays asleep, we'll actually get through the Kingdra. The problem is our low health. We have to now put these next 2 Dragonairs to sleep, otherwise we simply lose like this. So let's try again, because this is not going to be a simple or easy fight. This time we land the first Hypnosis on the Kingdra, so we're still on full health as we start attacking. We take her down below half health. She doesn't heal just yet. Now she Hyper Potions while she's on very low health. Then she will go for the full heal. We land the next Hypnosis, and that might be all that we actually needed. We do knock that one out. That brings out the next of the Dragonairs. We put it to sleep. Return hits. We nearly get the one-shot with a crit, but it's a 2-hit KO. And now on the final Dragonair, I think we can just YOLO. We don't get a great range on that first return though, but we manage the 2-hitter after a few turns of being fully paralyzed. So we do manage to win. Oh, that is so luck-based though. We have to land so many hypnosises, and we have to actually get really good ranges. It looks like the Dragonairs can be a 3-hit KO even with the pink bow on. So that is rough, but it is better than some of the babies that we were doing before. So I guess we can't complain about this Vulpix too much. Let's get our badge and make our way to rival number 5. So just like that, channel member Roy Merkel has made it to the end of this section, Rival 5. Let's see how this goes. He leads off with the Sneasel. We're just going to flamethrower that Pokemon, of course, getting an easy 1-hit KO victory. Feraligatr comes out next. We miss Hypnosis. Water Gun, again, does a lot. We're like a 3-hit KO yet again. I think we have to Confuse Ray here as well when we get it asleep, and now go return. Looks like a 4-hitter, even with the pink bow on. It wakes up, but we put it back to sleep. We can now return again to knock that one out. The Golbat, I think we have to put it to sleep because I'm scared that it's going to deal too much damage with the wing attack. We do manage to take it out though. That brings out Haunter. I'm going Flamethrower right here. Not getting the 1-hitter, but it just curses. That's fine. I misclicked and went Confuse Ray on Kadabra. That was a massive mistake, but return does knock it out. Let's see if we just one-shot the Magneton. Flamethrower does the job, so we get through. Even with the misclick, it wasn't a big deal. Vulpix manages to get to the doorstep of the league. Here with Sleep, I think this Pokemon's going to outperform Ninetales because it just kind of makes sense. With the Sleep strats, you're always going to have a chance, as long as you're faster, to put the opponent to sleep, hit them multiple times, and maybe get them in a range where you can actually get the KO. And the fact that we've already got 101 speed means that we're pretty darn fast here. We'll have to see how it goes, but we may at least make a deep run into the league with this one. So with that, let me give a massive thank you to Roy Merkel, who has been one of the longest time channel members over here. Already 29 months supporting the channel. So he polished off Jasmine as well as polished off all 8 of the Johto gym badges. It is on now to the league. I can't thank you enough, Roy, for all your support. I've heard that you're also supporting RSE Pokemon challenges and RBY Pokemon challenges as one of the first channel members on those channels. Can't thank you enough, man. Thank you for your support. Anyway, let's see how far your girl goes with this section, but I think it's going to be pretty good, at least for the next few parts of this series. We'll just see. And with Vulpix successfully added to the completed member picks and Ninetales joining that pass column, we have only one more Pokemon to run today. That is Sudowoodo. I'm very interested how this one's gonna go. I'm not exactly sure because we don't have speed like the Ninetales did. Ninetales had speed, confusion, and power. Things like the Sandslash had rollout with pretty decent speed and attack. I'm not sure if Sudowoodo gets that. We're just gonna have to see how this goes. So Sudowoodo comes into this section with Rock Slide, Rollout, Flail, and Low Kick. Obviously, Rock Slide's pretty decent in this section of the game. We can also learn elemental punches, including Ice Punch. We just don't have a great special attack stat to use that with. And our only remaining level up moves are Feint Attack, which isn't going to be great on this Pokemon, and Slam, which is also not great. So I'm honestly not sure. I mean, we're already basically rocking our strongest moves. So if we fail here, I think we just fail completely. Still, we should have enough to get through all the randos making our way through the Rocket storyline, since I'm pretty sure most of them won't have great moves against us. Let's just see how this actually works out though. So Sudowoodo, of course, just rock slides its way up to the Marlboro Man. So let's see if we can snuff out his smoking habit with a little bit of rock slide. Here it is not a one-hit KO on the coughing, and that makes me a little bit nervous. He goes boom there, which is perfectly fine because we won't take too much damage from that. The problem is that if we're not one-hit KOing here and we're getting our accuracy dropped, we could end up losing just because of the fact that we can't hit anything. So I'm going for rollout strats at this point since I'm out of Rock Slide. We get Explosion from the Wheezing and a critical hit that ends us. So we're going to have to come into this again. Let's see how it goes if we can actually land some hits. Now, if we can start setting up some rollouts, we can reach the point where we're doing really good damage to these Pokemon. So we just need a little bit of luck to get that to go. Here against Wheezing, I'll even set up rollout when it's on low health so I can stick with the rollout when I get to the Coughings. Once we miss, I think we just have to try to Rock Slide and get the victory. We are poisoned, which is bad, but we managed to get through on this attempt. So it took a few tries there to get through the Marlboro Man. And now we have to go take on the rival, who's going to be even harder because he's going to have that Meganium that I think is going to wreck us. We have a little bit of special defense, but it's not enough that I feel super confident going into this fight. Still, we won't know till we try, so let's get into it. Rival 4, attempt number 1. He outspeeds with Golbat and confuses me, but I go for Rock Slide, getting the one-hit KO. That brings out the Meganium second. Here, it goes for Poison Powder when we're on full health. Now it goes Reflect, which is really bad. Razor Leaf does good damage, and it looks like we're simply going down on this one because we're too slow. So I'm going to try the Quick Claw, but we might actually want to go Bitter Berry here and try to set up the rollout on the first Golbat. Let's just see how this works out, but let's try a rollout strat. Here, we do over half to Golbat, then we hit ourselves in Confusion. Obviously not what we're looking for. Let's try this again. So this time we get Bite and Bite again, but we get 2 hits on that Golbat. Meganium goes for Poison Powder, and we simply knock it out in 2 hits, so we get through to the Magnemite, which can't stand up to our rollout. Now against this Haunter, I simply go for Rock Slide, getting a one-hitter, and we'll just stick with Rock Slide on Sneasel, getting another one-hit KO. So we do manage to get through with the rollout strat with the Quick Claw on. Like I said, maybe going for the Bitter Berry would be the way to go there, but since it took 2 hits on that Meganium, I think this was the better play. And with that done, now I think we can just basically roll out on things and win down here. So let's just do that and get to the end of this section. And with that, we make it to the final executive. Mr. Meet Your Doom might be getting rock slid down here. We just destroy the Houndour. Let's go for Rock Slide on the Coughing. We get a one-hitter with a crit. Now he goes Feint Attack with the Houndoom, but just gets destroyed the next turn. There was no way for that guy to ever get a victory against us. He's just a wannabe Giovanni. Should have learned from his boss to use ground-type moves, but unfortunately, he never got the memo. But with that done, we now have to make our way to Clair, and this is where I think things get tough because we don't have a whole lot of moves available to us in this section of the game. I think we have to go for the Ice Punch somehow in order to get through this. It might be worth forgetting Low Kick because we're about to get access to the move Earthquake, and that probably solves all the problems that Low Kick would solve for us. So I think we forget Low Kick for the Ice Punch here and hope that it's enough to get through some Dragonairs. Still, I'll at least test with my moveset as it is first against the randos just to see if the Ice Punch is even necessary, since it's not like it's going to be super effective on the Kingdra. It is a good YOLO strat though, because we could go for a freeze on the Kingdra in order to get a victory here, and that might be the only available win condition for this Pokemon. So here we are ready to go into the Clair fight. I'm going to test things like the rollout strat just to see if they work. I'm not sure if we need a Paralyzed Cure Berry or not, or if it's better to go for the Quick Claw, because we are going to be outsped by everything here. We might need the Quick Claw activation to get a 2-hit KO against the first Dragonair and a Quick Claw against the Kingdra to maybe get a range there. We'll just have to see. So Clair attempt number 1. Let's go roll out on the first Dragonair. We can see it looks like we're getting 3-hit KO'd by Surf. We get the Quick Claw, so we do get a 2-hitter there with only 1 hit taken. Kingdra comes out, it goes Surf, and that just ends me. So we're going to have to try this one again. This time we get paralyzed, and that tells me that we could be in a situation where the Paralyzed Cure Berry gives us the advantage here. We might be able to get through the first Dragonair with only a single hit. Let's test this and see. So we're really hoping that it doesn't go Surf, that it goes for the Thunder Wave against us. When it doesn't, I'm pretty sure we just lose 100% of the time. This time we get the Thunder Wave and it doesn't go for it a second time, unfortunately. So we're back to Kingdra and we're simply getting destroyed right there. Now that does raise the question of whether or not we might have a better range with the Rock Slide. Since it is already significantly stronger, maybe we can get a critical hit one-shot against that first Dragonair. This time we get the Thunder Wave miss. We see that we did that much with the Rock Slide, so it's not going to be a one-hitter, but we do get the Quick Claw after that, so we're on to the Kingdra on full health. It goes Surf right here. We do survive one Surf from full health, but we will not survive two, and we are not getting the 2-hit KO there. So I'm going back to the Quick Claw rollout strat, since I think that's what we're going to need, is a Quick Claw activation with rollout on the Kingdra to have a shot here. We can survive 2 Surfs from the first Dragonair, so I think that's reasonable. Sometimes the first Dragonair is a 3-hitter though. That is worth noting. Still, I want to see the range when we do get the Quick Claw to activate against that Kingdra, so that we can see if this is actually worth it or not. This time it would be the 4th hit of rollout if we hit it on the Kingdra. We get it, and we do get the 1-hit KO there. That brings out the next Dragonair, which we also 1-hit KO. So now we just have to survive against this final Dragonair. It Ice Beams, we hit rollout. We would need another crit there with the Quick Claw in order to win in that case. So we have to get through in a case where we only take 1 Surf from the first Dragonair. That can happen when it misses a Thunder Wave. Even if it hits a Thunder Wave, if we get the right Quick Claw luck, we can get through to the Kingdra. Unfortunately, the Quick Claw activated that time, but we were fully paralyzed. So we didn't get to see if the 3rd hit of rollout would be enough for the Kingdra there. If it is, then theoretically we could sweep through the rest of the team. This time we get to the Kingdra on full health even. We hit the rollout. It's not a one-hitter, so we will survive. She'll Hyper Potion right there. We knock it out the next turn, but we're on low health as the next Dragonair comes out and we miss, and that's basically game over right there. So what else can we do? Well, we could try to go Dynamic Punch to confuse the Pokemon and then go for the rollout after that. We could go Sunny Day to reduce the damage that we take, but there really just aren't a lot of great strats here. Still, I'm going to try Sunny Day first over Low Kick. Let's see what that does for us. Maybe if we get a Quick Claw activation in Sunny Day, we can get a better range here. So here she goes for Thunder Wave. I go for Sunny Day. Now let's go for the rollout here, just hoping to land the hits. Dragon Breath is doing a lot here, and we missed the rollout on the Kingdra. Here, I'm just not sure that Sunny Day does enough for us. Maybe it could work with a Dynamic Punch. Let's just see a few strategies here. I'm not sure Flail's that great at this point, so I'll forget Flail to learn Dynamic Punch here so that we have a strat where we can at least confuse an opponent and maybe get a range to get through. So here we Dynamic Punch. That confuses the Dragonair, but it still manages to hit me the next turn. Here we hit turn 1. Dragonair hits itself in confusion. It still surfs, but now we can Sunny Day, and let's go for the rollout. The Kingdra still will have us in a pretty good range, and we don't get any Quick Claw activation, so we simply lose. That doesn't appear to be enough. This time Dragonair hits itself confusion after we get a Quick Claw with Dynamic Punch, so we take that one down on full health. We miss Dynamic Punch on the Kingdra, and with that I think we have to reset because we're just getting wrecked. If it had gone Smokescreen against me turn 1, I think we could have reset for another chance there, but I think we have to have more HP for the last 2 Dragonair. This time we get Smokescreen from the Kingdra instead, but we miss the Dynamic Punch, so again we simply lose. This time we hit Dynamic Punch. We did about half there to the Kingdra. It goes Surf, but it is confused. If it hits itself in confusion, we could Rock Slide. We actually get the Quick Claw, so we simply get the Rock Slide off anyway. Here the problem is the remaining 2 Dragonairs. We confuse this one, but it doesn't hit itself in confusion, so we still lose there. Let's see if Ice Punch does anything for us here. So here, this time against the Dragonair, I'll go Ice Punch just to see the range. We see it only does half. We get the freeze, which is nice, but that's still not going to be enough. We would need a freeze against the Kingdra to get through this. So we're definitely better off dynamic punching against the first Dragonair, and then I'm honestly not sure what to do against Kingdra because Rock Slide does less than half. Dynamic Punch did about half there, but it's still just not dealing enough damage. So what we can see is that basically this doesn't work, and there really isn't another move on our moveset that would be stronger here that would give us some sort of advantage. So I think we've reached a point where rare candies are the only option for this Pokemon. Of course, there are 6 rare candies available in this part of the game, so I'm going to go ahead and just give myself a few of them. Let's go up to level 45 first. In fact, I'm going to go a little bit further than that. We will not learn Slam here, but slamming all of these rare candies would put us just slightly faster than the Dragonairs. That would mean that we'd only now need to outspeed against the Kingdra. Let's see if this works. So now at this level, level 49, after all of those rare candies, Dynamic Punch one-shots there against a Dragonair, at least with a crit. The Kingdra tries to go Smokescreen against us. We can see Surf still does over half, so no matter what we do, we're getting 2-shot there. But maybe Dynamic Punch simply one-shots here. Maybe our Rock Slide can one-shot here. Sure enough, Rock Slide does. We just missed a couple times, and we can see Rock Slide does more than half to the Kingdra. Still, this is, I think, our best shot of getting through, because if we can simply one-shot there against that first Dragonair, then we just have to worry about Kingdra, and that's where the Quick Claw's gonna have to come in. Turns out that it's not a guaranteed one-hit KO with the Rock Slide, though, so we might still have to Dynamic Punch since it has the badge boost from Chucky Boy. That might be the only way to guarantee that we get a one-hitter there. When we get to the Kingdra, I think we 100% have to Dynamic Punch, so that we have a chance to actually get through that one when it's confused. Still, I think we can reset for ranges on the Dragonairs. Since we're really going for that confusion luck on Kingdra, we do get the 2-shot this time. Now we can Rock Slide the next Dragonair, and the third Dragonair also gets wrecked. So we do manage to win, but it required dropping all of the rare candies, and even there, it's a range on those Dragonairs to knock them out in a single hit. I think that's the best that we can possibly do there. You could argue for going less rare candies, but honestly, I think we had to outspeed to have a shot of getting through that one, which probably means we're punting on the end of the game. We probably can't actually win with this Sudowoodo now because we don't have a great special stat. We do get the Fence Curl to go together with Rollout, so that could be a strategy as we get further in this, but it's really not looking great. So I don't feel good as I come explain myself to the old guys in this one, because we can't explain any stories about stunting on Claire this time. This time she legitimately forced me to use rare candies to get through her. That was the only way I could find to really make that one reasonable. Now we will get access to Earthquake in this next section, so we will have an upgraded move at least to throw on the moveset, giving us yet another strong physical move to use. So let's just go ahead and forget Ice Punch to learn this TM26 Earthquake now, giving us a fairly strong moveset as we go into the league. At least basically everything's strong. We might learn Defense Curl at some point, I'm not sure, but for now let's just see how we do against Rival 5 here. So Rival 5 attempt number 1, we can just Rock Slide on the first Sneasel. That's an easy one-hit KO. Meganium comes out next. I'm going to go for the Dynamic Punch here to try to confuse it. We do get the hit there. It misses a Razor Leaf, but this snaps out of confusion. We get the Quick Claw to activate, so we do knock that one out with Rollout. We knock out Magneton with Rollout. We get Shadow Balled by the Haunter, but we get the KO there as well. Rock Slide on the Kadabra, and Rock Slide would have knocked out Golbat if not for the bite. Still, we lose that attempt. Let's try this one again. So this time instead, I'm going to go for the Rollout first on the Sneasel. That gets a one-hitter, but that gets one more Rollout setup before we get to Meganium, so we just 2-shot there. Magneton still gets destroyed by Rollout. Haunter goes Curse, but we roll out and win. Now I think we just go Rock Slide on Kadabra and Rock Slide on the Golbat, and that is good enough to get through the Rivals team at least. So Sudowoodo is onto the league with all of the rare candies basically used. Technically, you can get one more after Claire. You can be up to 7 by the time you get to the league, but this is not going to look great, I don't think. We're going to have to hope that we can get through Willy Boy. Bruno probably ends us. I'm just saying, like, we might be able to get to Bruno, but Bruno probably ends us with his fighting type moves. And if he doesn't, then maybe we could get to Lance and win based on the fact that he's a flying type trainer. I'm not sure. But for now, Sudowoodo gets through, but man, it feels bad getting through. So with that done, we can come back and see that we've gotten through with 34 of our challengers, though Sudowoodo was by far and away the worst. It just doesn't have anything good to use there other than like YOLOing Quick Claw plus Dynamic Punch plus trying to get critical hits. I mean, there's just no way that you get through that without crazy luck without going for the rare candies there. So it unfortunately had to drop those rare candies and probably doesn't complete this challenge, but who knows? Maybe it will surprise me. Still, we haven't lost anything yet, but I think that Claire, when she really walls something, it's going to be like Sudowoodo. They're going to get through, but they're going to get through after slamming the rare candies and then not have a chance at the late game. That's just my prediction. We'll have to see how it actually works out. Next time, we'll be coming back with a bunch of Pokemon that I actually think are going to do overall pretty well. We're going to come in with the Golbat and Crobat, Doug Trio, Persian, Golduck, Primeape, and Apom. Of course, because we've got Golduck and Doug Trio in there, that means that we will be getting our Diglett and our Psyduck in the next episode as well as they try to get through the Claire section. I can already place my early predictions. I think Apom and Primeape are going to do really well here. I also think Persian's not going to have any issues. Golduck is probably fine since it has access to Surf at this point, and I believe can learn some Ice type moves, so it should be just fine there as well. I would be very, very worried about Golbat. I'm not sure how that Pokemon's going to do because it just doesn't have much of a move set. Doug Trio, I think, will get through on the basis that it has Tri-Attack and Stab Ground. That's at least going to be neutrally effective there against Claire. So I think that one gets through, but Golbat could be sus. Crobat, I think, gets through just on the basis that it's got that amazing speed. We'll just have to see. Place your own predictions down below. But with that, I will see you in the next one later.